This slideshow introduces you to the mini case. At this point in time, you must have downloaded the mini case PDF file and gone through the instructions. If you've not done so yet, stop this voice over PowerPoint and first download and read the mini case instructions. Ready? You might find it strange that we are doing a case where there's no uncertainty or Murphy present. You might ask the question, will this not just be an academic exercise then? In other words, this case is only good for classroom discussion, but not having any practical relevance. Well, the answer is yes and no. You will never see such an environment in real life, but the insights we will gain from this case will have a profound practical impact on the way we think about business and projects. This introduction is to make sure that you understand the case and that no wrong assumptions are made about it. First, we must define what no uncertainty means. On the output side, the customers will not change their minds as to what they require and what the demand volumes are. There's also absolute certainty about the pricing. Therefore, no price sensitivity speculation is necessary. We know that if the price goes up by whatever small amount, the demand for both products will drop to zero. A reduction in price, irrespective of how big, will not have any effect on demand. You are at the optimum price point. As far as the suppliers are concerned, they always deliver on time, perfect quality and correct quantity. They will also not change their selling price to us. It will remain constant. Our capacity consists of 4 resources, A, B, C and D. Each of them is doing 2 processes, but there's no setup time required when they switch from one process to another. There are, however, 2 more certainties we have to take note of. 1, they cannot substitute for one another, and 2, each resource can only do one process at a time. For example, C1 and C2 cannot be scheduled to run simultaneously, since it's a single resource required to do both processes. Similar to a project network, the network we see before us indicates to us the sequence and processes required to make each of the products. The only difference between this network and a project network is the fact that we set up a project network once and then execute it once. In repeat operations, we set up the network once and then we execute it many times. Understanding the dependencies, we can follow the logic of what is required to make one of X by following the dependency arrows in the opposite direction. The ellipse shows which processes and raw materials are required for making one of X. Obviously, when 60 of X are demanded, we have to execute these processes 60 times each. Similarly, the logic for Y can be followed to understand which processes and raw materials are required to make Y. What is now obvious is that the center path, consisting of processes B1 and C2, is required for each of the products. In other words, for every one of product X that we make, we must run through processes B1 and C2. And for every one of Y we make, we must run B1 and C2 again. You now have enough information to decide on the profitability or not of the 2 products. This slide introduces the 2 project proposals. The first proposal, indicated in red, requires us to increase the time on C2 from 5 to 8 minutes per unit, but at least there's a time reduction of 1 minute per unit on process B1 from 15 to 14 minutes per unit. Unfortunately, this is not as much as the increase on C2. Therefore, the overall processing time on processes B1 and C2 in the center section increases from 20 to 22 minutes per unit. The cost to do this project is a once-off 5,000 Rand. Everything else as previously described remains the same. The second proposal proposes to reduce the time on A1 from 20 to 5 minutes per unit, and the time on C1 to reduce from 20 to 15 minutes per unit. Overall, the time in the left-hand section reduces from 40 minutes per unit to 20 minutes per unit. Still part of the second proposal is to reduce the time on A2 from 10 to 5 minutes per unit. Overall duration of the right-hand section will now reduce from 25 to 20 minutes per unit. The cost of this project is a once-off 3,000 Rand, and similar to Proposal 1, everything else as previously described remains the same. So there you have it. No uncertainty to worry about. Which product is the most profitable and which project to implement? It should not take you too long to make your decisions. See you in class with your answers. You must however be able to justify any decision that you've made.